Hi and welcome to our IVF webinar tonight. Again, we are back with another interesting session for you and of course another amazing presenter. As you can see, Maria Escribá is right here with us and she has brought another presentation on a very interesting topic. Hello Maria, how are you tonight? I hope you are well.
Hello Caroline, how are you?
I'm very good and I'm very happy that you are here with us. And I know you had a busy day. So thank you so much already for joining us tonight and also for spending your evening with us. So it's wonderful to have you here. And let me just tell you that, of course, Maria, she is the embryologist and at IVF Laboratory and Andrology at Equipo Juana Crespo, which is located in beautiful Valencia. So very, very happy and proud that you have joined us tonight. And before we start with your presentation, let me just say that, of course, my IVFSS is a part of European Fertility Society. For those who don't know, European Fertility Society has been created simply because we want to help you out, educate you a little bit, and also give you options to ask your questions, to find out about all kinds of topics on IVF, but also egg donation, embryology, fertility preservation. As you know, there are plenty of topics to choose from. And this week we are definitely focusing on embryology. And tonight we will talk about quality management in the embryology lab. And Maria has prepared a presentation on this, but also she has a little bit of a video to show you how her work looks like. So I'm sure it will be very interesting for you to see what happens behind the IVF lab doors. I've seen it already, so I know it's definitely very interesting. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. As always, don't forget to type all the questions in the chat section. Maria will answer them for you right after the presentation. And I'm your host, Caroline. So now I will start. Let's start with the presentation, okay, Maria?
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. As she said, my name is Maria Escribá. I'm one of the embryologists in Equipo Juana Crespo. We are in Valencia, in Spain. Hello to everybody. And today we're going to talk about the total quality management in the embryology lab. Okay, so I would like to start with the definition of quality control. Quality control is a process by which IVF laboratories review the quality, okay, of all factors involved in all processes. Quality control in IVF is huge. There are so many factors involved and so many tasks need to be done to have a good quality control. And I'm going to try to summarize them for you, okay? But if you want more information, here you have the big definition of it. Okay. Control quality management always follows this cycle. This is like the key for quality control, is the plan, do, check, act cycle. So when we want to do an action, first we have to plan it with detail. Then we do it, we're going to validate it, and then we check it every day. Is it working? It's okay. Okay, and with time, because what we want is to improve, we will act. And again, we will plan, do, check, act. And this is the like eternal cycle of control quality. Okay. Here we have a summary of many responsibilities and duties that are like written on the ESRE guidelines. ESRE is the European Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology. There are so many things, but then if we fulfill these all requirements, we can apply for a certification of quality. Okay, so by an audit, we can get a third-party certification on conformity of services and processes. If we manage to get this accreditation, this certification, we can prove to patients that we work with quality standards. There are official bodies like ISO, which is the International Organization for Standardization. Okay, this is the most common, but every country has its own body. So now, very important questions. What is the purpose of quality management? It's not very simple. I mean, it's simple the answer, but it's really hard to get it. What we want with quality control is to achieve the best outcomes, to get better results always. And how we can achieve this quality? Okay, there are 4 means to get it: by professional, processes, facilities, and equipment. And they are under continuous monitoring, checking, and testing always. Okay, so let's start with professionals. The most common professional inside the lab are the embryologist. What is an embryologist? It's a highly skilled professional that performs all procedures that take place in the lab. Simple answer is, we take care of your embryos. We are the first babysitters of your embryos. And there are more technical answers, but what I want to tell you is that for us, for embryologists, what is really important is just to be aware at all times, at every moment, of how important is the task that we had at hand. Okay, why? Because we have your embryos in our hands. We work with human embryos, with your future babies. So this is so important. So tasks can be simple or very complicated, but we have your embryos in our hands. So we have to be fully aware of this. We have to be focused at all times. Okay, this is our team. Okay, we are 14 now in our lab. We have admin people and andrologists, geneticists, and then we are a lot of embryologists, manager, more senior, less senior. But the important thing is, like, you can perform 3 techniques or 10 if you're more senior. But the procedures that you do them with the same quality that someone who is more senior that you will do. So all of us perform the procedure in the same way with the same quality for our patients. Okay, so this takes us to this slide when we talk about processes. Here we have an example of processes that we perform in the lab, like sperm preparation, pickup, ICSI, embryo grading, vitrification, thawing, assistant hatching, transfer, all of them, biopsy. Less, more simple, more complicated, but all of them. But all these processes, even clean a hood, all processes always are performed following an SOP. An SOP is a standard operating procedure, which is a detailed document that describes how a task is to be performed. All embryologists in the lab perform every procedure in the same way. If not, otherwise we could have different outcomes. So this is important. We all do the same procedure in the same way with the same quality. With time, SOP should be reviewed on a regular basis to improve them according to this cycle that we were talking, the plan, do, check, act cycle. Now we're going to talk about the facilities. In this case, the lab. We have 4 labs, but all of them are like more or less the same. And the lab, what do we want? We want to recreate the same natural conditions where the embryos live. We want to create the best environment for them. Why? Because an optimal embryo culture is equal to embryo quality. If we have a good culture, we will have good quality. And how are we going to create this best environment for them? And the IVF lab is a clean room which has an independent and filtered climate machine. With this, we'll get the control of temperature. In our case, it's 21.5 degrees all year long. Here we are in Valencia. In summer, it's very hot. Not very cold in winter, but it's cold. But we have the same temperature all year long. This is very important. We control the humidity, and it's a room with overpressure. This means that the lab has more pressure than other rooms close to them. So all particles, dust, everything tends to go outside the lab. So this makes these rooms very clean. We have 15 whole air renovations per hour. So this makes a very clean and safe room. With COVID, labs are really good COVID safe place because of this, because the air renovates a lot of times per hour. What do we have to avoid in the lab? We need to avoid the VOCs. VOCs are the volatile organic compounds, are just a group of chemicals that are found in many products, and they release out of gas, and we breathe them. They're in the air. nothing happens to us if we breathe them, but the embryos are very vulnerable, so we have to protect them from these organic compounds. And how we're going to avoid them? We have a lot of filters, very special filters for this. And the lab has to be built with special materials. We have to avoid the use of glue, silicones, plastic. We use special furniture for the lab to avoid these VOCs. Between the lab and the admin room, we have the lab hatch, which is an airlock with 2 doors, and only one can be open at a time. So we have a limited access to people. Only embryologists can be inside the lab. Why? Because your embryos are inside. This is very important. So only us can be inside, and we have these particles with us. So the less people inside the lab, the better. So we have this system of traffic light doors. So if one is green, one is red, we have special codes to go inside. We use specific cleaning products. This is very important. The same. We clean with special products for IVF. We wash our hands with odorless soap. We can't use makeup. We can't use perfume because all these particles are VOCs. Okay. We use specific clothes. We use caps. We use masks even before COVID. We have special shoes only for lab. We have another ones for outside of the lab. We have these sticky mats where we step, so we get rid of dust and all particles. And we prefer to use glass because glass is without this kind of VOCs. Now we talk about equipment. When I mean equipment, I want to talk about technical equipment like microscopes, hoods, consumables, all plasticware or glass, all materials we use, and all kind of media, embryo media for oil, vitrification media, all media. Consumable and equipment should be of the highest quality. This is very, very important because the better the quality of the consumables, the better the results. We will notice if we're using good plastic dishes or not. And technical equipment, we have to test it regularly and maintain every year. For example, microscopes, incubators, very important to check them when appropriate. Okay. Now we'll talk about what is embryo culture. I don't know if you know how we culture them. These are the petri dishes, okay? And here we have wells where we put the droplets of media and we cover them with oil to avoid the evaporation of the media. So it's like this. So they are inside the media droplets and covered with oil. I'm not going to talk about media and oil because this is like for another whole talk. I want to speak about this, to how we're going to give the stability to the media and oil, because embryo culture is not only the media. We need to give a stability to have a good embryo culture. And how we're going to do this? Controlling all these factors that affect embryo culture, incubators, equipment, heated surfaces, setup, oil. We'll see them now. We start with temperature, very, very, very important. As we said, we want to recreate natural conditions. Inside the woman, it's 37 degrees. So embryos should be at 37 degrees, always, at all times, everywhere. Not only in incubators, obviously, we have here different types of incubators, but everywhere. They are the hoods, microscopes. Even if we leave them for 30 seconds, that surface needs to be heated. So all these surfaces are heated. But it's not that simple, just to set the display at 37 degrees and everything at 37. No, we wish it's not that easy. It's very hard to keep this temperature, to have the same temperature on the whole surface, and to have the same temperature everywhere and always, every hour, for example. So we can't see this picture, okay, but what we do is like every day we check the temperature. So we have this temperature meter, which is a fluke. Here we had, it was a picture of an incubator with these buttons. They are very useful because they are wireless. So what we do is like we can put them inside an incubator or in a surface, and we can map it because we can leave them for 24 hours, for example, and they will keep record of temperature every 10 minutes, and then we will have a full report of how the surface is mapped with the temperature. As I said before, consumables are really important because it's not the same if dishes are completely flat and they are touching the surface, or if they're not and they have a little edge. So this is very important to have at least all dishes to be the same, or flat or not. Okay, here we can see how important is temperature, because at 36, for example, we will have a blastocyst rate of 41%, at 37 we'll have 48%. So 1 degree makes a big difference. Now we'll talk about gases. Oxygen. Okay, we know that inside the womb, inside the tubes, the oxygen is around 5%. It's not like the air we breathe. So incubators they have to be like this, at a low percentage of oxygen, because this is very, very important for the blastocyst rate. We'll see here. So the same, every week we have to check oxygen with these gas meters, and we have oxygen probes inside the incubators to make sure that it's not only the display saying that we're working at 5%, we can improve it. CO2 and pH. Okay. The CO2 pressure allows us to achieve the desired value of pH. What we want is to achieve exact pH, the same that is inside the woman. Okay, and we're going to get this through the CO2. The CO2 is the vehicle, the mean to control the pH. Okay, so it's the same. We set the CO2 and then we check and control these CO2 levels with these meters. Okay, this is a continuous CO2 meter. This is like a gas meter. And then weekly, we have to measure the pH, the actual pH that we have in our culture, because this is important to know the pH that we have in our culture. This is a continuous pH reader, and this is an epoch. So once a week, or at least when we change the batch of media, we want to make sure how is our pH and we can measure it. Okay, so we have been talking about so many variables, but how do we know them? We can't be always measuring them. So what we have is a system that monitors all these variables. Okay, so we have a log with all these variables, and we can get alarms with this. We have so many probes, so many sensors for temperature, for not only for incubators and for the room. We have for the fridge, for the freezer, the tanks where the embryos are inside when they are frozen. This is very, very important. Okay, even if we have a power cut, whatever. So we have this, and we register all of them, and we will get alarm. So there's no need to be in the lab to know that something is happening. You can be at home 5 in the morning, and you can get an alarm that something is happening. But here's an example of this continuous monitoring system that we can see temperatures, VOC levels. Was just an example for you. Checklist. So every day before you start to work, we need to know that everything is in the optimal range. Temperature, gases, everything. So before the start, we have this startup. And before leaving, we do a small shutdown, that everything is okay inside the lab. Okay. Before we were writing them down, it was out of work. Nowadays, what we have is these new apps that they make our life better. Okay, because we keep record of all this data here on a computerized system. So we have record, we keep evidence of it. Plus, if you forget to write something to enter a value, it's going to tell you incident. You haven't put this value, so you have to put it. Obviously, if something is wrong, it's going to be like red, so you know that this is not in range. I have to take an action to sort this out. So this is very, very useful for quality control. Okay, now it's like I'm doing everything I have to do. I think I have a lot of quiet in my life, but how I'm going to be sure of this? How I know how competent is my lab according to EXPERT, for example. So the ESRE, the European Society of Human Reproduction, gave this guideline, was the Vienna Consensus, was a report of experts saying the main indicators for lab. So you can compare your indicators with this one to know in which range of quality you are working. These indicators are called KPI. And the KPI, you need to calculate them per lab, annual, every year, every month. So which month was better, what's happening. Per embryologist, because you're working, you think that everything is fine, but maybe you're not doing something or you have changed something, so you can check yourself that if you're working properly. According to this consensus, they give, I'm going to give you an example. For example, it's like fertilization rate, cleavage rate, blastocyst rate, implantation rate. They gave us like this competency value, which is the minimum competency limit to achieve quality. We always have to be working more than this percentage of competency, because this is the minimum. Our aspirational goal has to be the benchmark value, which is the excellence. We need to achieve this one because what we want is to work through excellence. And if you're in a range between 10, for example, here was 10 and 5, how can you work towards getting this value, the benchmark, the one you want, the excellence one? With the plan, do, check, act cycle that we will talking during this talk. So you review and you update your SOP, trying to improve your SOP. You talk with the people. It's like better processes, better everything. Better, you can get better disposables, everything, because we are working towards the benchmark value always. At last, I would like to speak to you about. I think it's very important for you and for us. Obviously, it's a thing that is not going to improve the quality. The quality is not going to give us better results, but it's going to give us a lot of safety. And I think that safety is also quality. Always is the sample identification and traceability of your samples. Many of you ask is like, how do you know that? How I know that my embryos are my embryos, for example. Okay, from the beginning, from pickup, day 0 with egg, sperm, day 1 till day 5, day 6, day 7, to vitrification, to transfer. We need to keep this sample traceability. Okay, this is very important. So as I said, the embryologist is always focused. The first thing we do when we take a dish is like we have to read the name. We have to make sure that we have the protocol of the patient and we have the patient list. We read and we're sure that we're working with your samples. Anyway, at critical points, for example, ICSI, when we are going to mix gametes, sperm and eggs, we call another embryologist to have a double witness. It's a human double witness that you have everything there, you're reading, and the other embryologist is reading. But nowadays, with the new technologies, we have these electronic witness systems. Okay, there are many makes and models, but what they do is like they have electronic evidence that all the samples are from a patient. What we have is a system of stickers and QR codes that we scan and we read, so we know everything is okay and we are following the traceability of your samples. Here's where I have the video, so let's watch it. So in this video, I want to show you how the electronic witness works. Okay, is this device, and what we have here are just few dishes and tubes that we will use during the cycle. We'll use more during the cycle, but this is just an example. Okay, so we have all this is with these labels with the patient details. This is under my name, my details, my name. We have the sperm pod and the sperm tubes for sperm preparation too under the partner's name. Couples are linked. So everything starts in the room. Have to lock first. Okay, so in the room you will have before the pickup your wristband with your details, with date of birth and everything. So the embryologist will scan the wristband
and the pickup starts. We're going to scan and match all tubes. And then after the tubes, we will put eggs in a washing dish. After the washing dish, we're going to put the eggs in a clean dish. Okay, so pickup is done. We have eggs here. Then we have to strip the eggs. So cut here. We're going to strip them. We transfer them to another dish. And this is done. On the other side, we have sperm. So we scan partner's name with all the tubes we use for sperm preparation until we have the final tube with the sample of sperm. So before ICSI, we will call another embryologist because we always want another embryologist to have a second witness for critical steps. So we'll have another witness and we will match eggs with sperm with the ICSI dish. Okay, and we'll have everything will be matched. What will happen if at any step I try to match one of my samples with another patient samples? So I have this nice sample and I try to match with this one, which is another patient. I will get a mismatch. I will get an alarm. Okay, so this is very important because now I'm aware that I have a mismatch and I have to sort this out because something wrong has happened, and we are aware of that. That's the important part.
Okay, I hope that was making things more clear for you. That's it. This is the summary of the talk. To take home message is just the quality management system helps to achieve the best outcomes. Document all processes using standard operating procedures. Processes and SOPs should be reviewed on a regular basis. IVF culture media is an integral part of the embryo culture system. Its use must, however, be optimized in every laboratory. pH, temperature, and osmolality must be carefully monitored and maintained. Choice of and use of oil is critical. Consumables and equipment should be of the highest quality, tested regularly and maintained where appropriate. Quality control and quality management using KPIs is mandatory, and a robust system of evaluation supports quality system. Okay. Thank you very much. I hope you liked, and thank you again.
And excellent. Thank you so much, Maria. Definitely interesting. And it was lovely to see. Also, the video was definitely interesting to know what you use. Thank you so much. It's amazing to see how your daily work looks like. So, and I can tell you, there are some questions ready and they are also quite interesting. So let's go ahead and let's find out, okay? Let's have a look at those questions. Let's see. The first question is up right here. It's a bit of a longer question. So do you use video time-lapse for the embryos? When using donor eggs, how many eggs on average are collected and what are the average grades of the embryos? Do you recommend PGS testing when using donor eggs? Thank you, Claire, for your first question.
Okay, hello, Claire. Okay, it's like, yes, we use video time-lapse for embryos. And when we are using donor eggs, it's never an exact number because some donors have more eggs than other ones. It's like we can't control that. But with egg donation, well, always it's much better to have good quality embryos than to have a lot of embryos, is what I think. I mean, I know that it's like we need to have both of them, especially when you go for an egg donation. You want to have a lot of embryos, but this is not about number. It's about quality. It's about the grade, the quality of the embryos. Usually we have like around, on average, we have like 10x, 10, sometimes we have 12, sometimes we have 8. But the important thing is how many blastocysts are we getting and the quality of these ones. Usually we have really good quality blastocysts because they are donor, because we know our donors and they're quite good. Do you recommend PGS testing when using donor eggs? I wouldn't recommend it, PGS, because it's like their donors, usually they are very, very young girls with the donors. So have good quality blastocysts, and PGS is not mandatory at all. If sometimes, if you want, or if you have a really bad sperm, you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend in general PGS testing for donor eggs. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the very good question and, of course, for your explanation. Okay, wonderful. Let's have a look at the next question from Babel. I unfortunately do not have an insight into the quality of the embryology lab. Do you think that all labs in Europe follow high standards and guidelines? Can I trust all of them?
Well, not all of them for sure have follow the same high standard guidelines, but well, I want to believe that at least in the minimum standards that of experts say we all follow and we all get. Okay, the minimum competency value that I was talking, but I know because I've seen that they not all of them work towards getting this excellency value. So it's like how can I trust of them? When you go to a clinic, I think it's very important to make some research about this clinic, how they work, or you can ask some question on embryology if you're doing the cycle. I'm sure that if you speak with them, you can ask all the questions you want, and they will answer all of them for you, and they will explain how the standards of quality they're using in the lab. Okay, some labs are better than other ones, but at least I want to believe that they're good, at least all of them.
Thank you. Definitely interesting question. Thank you for the clarification, because actually some of the patients, there are some other questions on that actually, yes. How often do you have audits by official authorities?
Okay. In my case, I can tell you that we had at the beginning when we started the clinic, because it's like our clinic is like 4 or 5 years old. Immediately we were working towards getting this ISO accreditation. We have it, and then we have the UNE, which is a Spanish accreditation. So, and every year we have to renew these audits. Not every year are like mega big audits, but I think every 2 years are the big ones. But every year we have to renew, we have to prove this, we have to keep record and prove all these results and the quality control that we're performing in the lab. So I think it's, for the previous question, I think it's very important to know if the lab that you're going, they have these ISO accreditations. UNE in Spain, I don't know, but I'm sure in other countries they will have more accreditation of quality. And if they have it, at least you know that they're working on a minimum of quality.
All right. Again, thank you so much indeed for that question. And one more is right here. I live in Spain, Mallorca. Do you think that embryology laboratory in public hospital do have the same quality process the same way as those in private clinics?
Okay. I've never worked in a public hospital, so I can't tell you for sure how they perform. I think that they are like, all of them are better than, some of them are better than other ones. But what I'm sure is that people try. I don't know if they have all the technology, that the first quality technology, but the embryologists are good, and for sure they work and they want to improve their results for sure. What I'm not sure is if it's about the technology they use. Some of them, big ones, they will have good technology, but maybe the small ones, they won't have this very good and new technology. So I can't tell you for sure because I've never been in a public hospital. But it's like in private clinics, it's the same. Some are better than other ones. It's less. So doing a research about the clinics before starting a cycle, I think is a very good option for patients. Yes. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Indeed, definitely. Again, another interesting question. Okay, let's have a look. One more from Bubble. I had 3 donor egg cycles with different egg donors. First cycle donor egg plus husband sperm, 12 eggs, 7 fertilized, 1 blastocyst. Second cycle donor egg, donor sperm, 7 eggs, 5 fertilized, 1 blastocyst. Third cycle donor egg, donor sperm, 5 eggs, 3 fertilized, 1 blastocyst. Would you be suspicious if something in the lab went wrong?
Well, for sure, I can tell you that this is not normal in egg donation. Having 3 not good cycles is not normal. You can have 1 bad cycle because even you want to control all the parameters and your donor is very good, the stimulation is good, everything is fine. These are biological samples. You can't control all of them. Sometimes a cycle is not good, so you can have a bad cycle. In this case, 3 cycles in a row. It's just, I don't know if suspicious, maybe, but it's really bad luck at least. Only 1 blastocyst per cycle, even with donor sperm, different donor. It's quite strange. I don't know, because if something in the lab went wrong, it could be we are all human. Something can go wrong in the lab, but all 3 times it's just maybe with more information I could tell you something else, but it's not normal, at least. Sometimes it's like once in months we have a bad donation cycle. It's like, but we know that it's not according to our standards. So what we do is like, okay, we have this cycle. The cycle was not good for us, for our standards. So we're going to change the donor. We're going to try with another cycle. We're going to do an arrange because this is not normal, and we know that it's not normal. So it's like, this is not what we want to give according to our quality standards. So we repeat the cycle. So something happens, but 3 cycles, it's quite strange, at least, yes, with donor eggs, donor sperm. Yeah, but it's a low number of blastocysts, very low. Yes, 1 blastocyst per cycle. With this information, I can tell you nothing else that is not normal, at least. Yeah. Sorry, Babel.
Of course, thank you so much, Babel, for sharing this. And as Maria has said, yes, you would need more details in order to provide the answer. So remember, you will be able to get in touch with Maria and her team. I'm sure they will be more than happy to help you out with some more details as well. Yeah. And just give me a second. Yeah, Babel has added, thanks very much. We have changed the clinic and hope for better luck after 3 times, and bad luck.
Hope the same.
Okay, best of luck then, Babel. Okay, fingers crossed, definitely. All right. Thank you so much. And let's have a look. Next question from Sylvia is up. As an embryologist, what do you think? What is the best IVF rate or for fresh versus frozen donor eggs? Are frozen donor eggs resist after they are defrosted?
Okay. This is a very good question and controversial question. I think it's like, I would prefer fresh eggs, but this is not meaning that the frozen eggs are bad. I think it's like with frozen eggs, we will get not that high blastocyst rate. Okay, it will be a small. We won't have 5. We will have like 4. So in terms of number of blastocysts that we have, this makes a difference. But the embryos are good, and the embryos are completely fine to implant and to give a healthy baby is what we want. So it's not a problem to work with frozen eggs. It's just we need to know that we will get less blastocysts than with fresh eggs, according to our numbers, my opinion. But then we can get pregnancies, of course, and everything will be okay. It's just we need to be aware that sometimes when we thaw these eggs, they don't survive, because it's like the eggs are different to embryos. The survival rate of embryos is really, really good, especially in blastocyst, but the eggs, just because of their shape is different, sometimes is completely fine, but sometimes it's not good, and not all of them survive. So if we have this in mind, and we can give 2x more to couples with, if they are frozen eggs, we will get the same number of blastocysts, and with the same results of pregnancy. So it's not a big problem. It's just, if you ask me what I prefer, I will say this, because I think we will get more blastocysts, but it's not a problem at all if we work with frozen eggs.
Excellent. Again, thank you so much.
If you allow me, I would like to add to Sylvia. It's like, this applies for example, because of when we want to freeze eggs for social reasons. It's like, we need to be aware of this. It's like, it's not okay, now I'm going to freeze my eggs and I can live my life and I will have a children definitely because I have frozen eggs. It works, and it's a very good option. It's just because sometimes we see this, that then we are thawing the eggs after the years, and some of them, they don't survive to the thaw, and they get quite sad because they didn't know this. I reckon that it's a good thing, it's a good technique, but we need to be aware of what happens. And what happens is, sometimes in some patients, the egg survival after thawing is not perfect. So we need to be aware that maybe we're freezing eggs for social reasons. In future, this can happen. So if you're going to freeze your eggs and you have a few number of eggs frozen, I would recommend another cycle, because the number of eggs here, it's important for the future.
And thank you for adding that. Definitely interesting. Thank you so much indeed. All right, let's have a look. More questions are coming in, so let me go straight to the next one. Is it harmful for the embryo if the doctor performing the transfer uses cosmetics like hair gel?
No, it's not like that. If you can have to transfer with hair gel, is not a problem. What I was saying is like, us as an embryologist, we spend so many hours inside the lab, and we are very close to the embryos and to all the products. So we avoid all these cosmetics. We avoid them. But if you, as a patient, you come or the doctor that is performing the transfer has hair gel, is not a problem at all. It's not that dangerous now. It's not a problem.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Definitely interesting. And thank you for that question, because that explains it definitely. So thank you. Next question is, how do you check pH of media outside the incubators?
Okay, inside the incubators, it's like we have like a device. It's called the Epoch device. And what we do is, like, the day before, we prepare some dishes with the media. We leave them overnight, and then in the morning, before opening the incubator to check embryos, we take these dishes with media, and we measure the pH with this device that is on purpose for this, to read the pH. Okay. We have one in one incubator that is a continuous pH reader, but for all incubators and for that we use this thing. Okay.
Amazing again. Thank you so much. Okay, let's have a look. Next question: how do you do external quality control?
Okay, we have like external quality control, as I said, for these official bodies like ISO, UNE in Spain, and then we have, like, in Spain, it's called ASEVIR. They give us an external quality control. This is about the embryo quality. They give you like some videos of embryos. You have to grade them in different stage on different days and different stage of the embryo. And this is like an external quality control to make sure that we do them between embryologists in the lab and between our clinic compared to other clinics. So we all have external quality control of how we grade the embryos, how we prepare the sperm, and other things. And for quality control of having record of these things. We have the ISO and the UNE thing.
And again, thank you so much for yet another question and answer. And next question is here. In Spain, do you prefer fresh versus frozen transfer to correlate with the endometrial lining?
This is a good question. This is like it's more like I think a medical for the gynecologist question. But in my clinics, most of our cycles are frozen, are not fresh cycles, because it's like sometimes the endometrial during the cycle with hormones is not perfect. So and freezing embryos is not a problem at all. So we prefer to freeze the embryos, and then doctors prepare the endometrium perfectly, and when they are prepared, and we will do the transfer and no problem. We prefer that, but this is a thing that is not embryologist deciding. I think it's the doctors. When we check the patients, they check and they know if you're okay to go for a fresh cycle or you're better to go for a frozen cycle. It's just more a gynecologist question.
All right, again, thank you so much indeed for that question as well, okay, and of course for your advice here. And what is the surviving rate of frozen eggs?
I think it's around 87. In my clinic, it was 87, 90%. Okay, it's a good surviving rate, but it's not that as good as embryos, because embryos always close to 99%. So it's good, but for us, it's not perfect. We would like, that's what I wanted to say, that because it's not about things, it's just we need to be aware, because I think we have to give all information to patients when they need to know. The surviving rate of frozen eggs is not perfect. It's like around 95, 90%. Okay, thank you, Margie.
All right, thank you so much indeed. Okay, next question is up. So post thawing of oocytes, how long you wait for ICSI procedure?
We wait minimum 2 hours, because we strip them and we freeze them after 2 hours after pickup. So in total, it will be like at least 4 hours. So after the thawing, we wait at least 2 hours. Usually we wait like 2 hours and a half before ICSI, after thawing. But if we know that they were frozen 2 hours, so in total it will be like 4 hours.
Okay, thank you again for the clarification. And Claire has asked this: are all your donors proven with either their own children or have been a successful donor for you already?
We try. The problem is like this is impossible, because it's like donors, some of them they have their own children. Then if it's not the first time that they are donating, it's like how was the previous cycle. So this give us a lot of information. If you know how the previous cycle was, you can control this cycle, because you know the quality of those eggs. But there's always a first time for everything. So it's just sometimes it's like we have more eggs if it's the first donation, and with a good stimulation, they make a lot of control to donors, genetic, a lot of tests, everything with good stimulation. So even if it's the first time, usually we get good results. And as I said before, sometimes this happens. It's the first cycle, you don't know, and the cycle is not good. So it's just, okay, you tell the patient the cycle was not according to what our quality standards. We will repeat the cycle, because this is not what we were expecting for your cycle. So we will change. And you explore the donor, and maybe you can do something because something happened during the stimulation, or if not, you will, according with what happened, the donation team, they will decide what to do with the donor. It's better if it's a proven donor, but that's impossible for all times, because always we all have a first time for everything, and the donors have a first time always.
Thank you so much, Claire, for yet another interesting question for sure. Okay, Margie has added one more. What number of eggs should be frozen to get one live birth?
This depends a lot of the age. When the eggs are frozen, quality of eggs. I mean, if the patient has a problem like endometriosis or another problem, SOP, quality of eggs. Just looking at the eggs, sometimes we know because they are bad, but maybe they can look good, but we don't know really. We will know about embryo quality. The eggs, they don't give much information, so this is difficult. So I think the most important parameter here is the age when you freeze. If you freeze your eggs when you're 25, it is perfect. If you are 38 when you freeze them, it's not that good because it's like because many of them are going to be with unemployed, so it's not that good. So the age is the critical point here. Then when you get older, you will have less eggs. So that's why I said if you're 37, when you freeze your eggs and you have only 5 eggs, I will recommend night cycle at least. But if you're young, when you're like 26, maybe with, I don't know, and if everything is good, 8 eggs is fine. But if you're like 37 and the eggs are not good, 7 is not enough, most probably. Hope this is okay for you for the question.
All right, amazing questions.
There are always a lot of parameters and things. It's not an easy question, an easy answer always. So we need to check out the parameters, the variables, about patients to give an accurate answer.
Of course, that's understandable. Amazing questions today, lots of them as well. So thank you so much, everyone, already for all of those questions. Let's have a look. There are more of those coming up. And next question is here. Is it recommended to transfer 2 or more embryos of good quality after 38?
It will depend of many things. First of all, age. Okay, you said after 38. It's not the same 38 than 40, but 38. It's very important to know what kind of embryos we have. I mean, day of freezing, if they are day-free embryos or they are blastocysts. If they are day-free blastocysts, I will recommend after 38, I will recommend 2. If it's a blastocyst, it will depend of the quality. If it's a really, really good embryo, we can have a chance with 1. But then there's, again, it's like the doctor has a lot to say because we will have to check and we will need to know about the uterus. Sometimes we have a lot of patients that they have a lot of problems in the uterus, in the endometrium. So some parts of the womb is not okay. So they need to transfer more embryos to have more chances for implantation. So it is, again, sorry, but this depends on a lot of factors. But most mainly are day of freezing, age, quality, and the uterus.
All right. Again, thank you so much for yet another question. Okay, one more from Margie. Why are frozen donor eggs mostly in pack of 6?
In pack of 6 is like some clinics make like these packs, and 6 is a very common pack with 6 embryos, with 6 eggs, sorry. You should have at least 1 transfer of blastocysts with 1 or 2 blastocysts. Okay, so if you're lucky, you can have more, but per average, with this pack of 6, at least you have 1 transfer with of a good blastocyst. And they're frozen because it's more simpler for the clinics that you stimulate the donor and then you freeze the eggs, and then you can match these eggs with the patient, with the recipient. If you use fresh eggs, it's much more, it's a hassle, but it's better. I think it's worth, but it's a hassle because you have to synchronize the donor with the recipient, and you need to have to do it in this way. So it's like the donor is when it's the egg collection, the pickup of the donor, husband need to come as a husband to give the sample, and then Then if we do like first transfer, we want to do a first transfer, the recipient should be synchronized with the donor. On day 5 on the endometrium line, we will transfer the blastocyst. So it's easier to work with frozen donor eggs. As I said, it's not a problem if you are aware of this. It's not a problem, but mostly in pack of 6, because with 6 per average, you will get a good transfer for blastocysts. Maybe only one, you won't have spare embryos for a second child or everything, but at least a good transfer you'll have, I think.
All right, again, thank you so much. Laura has added, what do you think is the age limit when using own eggs?
Yes, the age is a limit when using your own eggs. It's like you can try always if you're over 40s, but then I will recommend to use the PGS test. The chances is are not that good, but it's not, I mean, you can try, and if it depends a lot of the quality, if you have any problems of the ovarian reserve, there are so many factors, but you can try. It's not a problem if you're over 40. I mean, it's not a problem. If you think it's fine, you can try, and you can have we can have good results. But definitely the age is a limit when using your own eggs, yes.
All right, we'll be finishing, but there are some questions left. So, of course, if you have any questions, just go ahead, type those in, okay? Because we will be slowly. And let's have a look at the next question. So, what is the stage of in vitro maturation of egg?
Okay. Some clinics, they are working on it. Okay, they're with in vitro maturation of eggs. With time-lapse technology, it is having some advantages. It's not having like great results, but for some patients, it's working. But this is just only for a special kind of patient that they have eggs, but they are not mature. So they can try. Maybe this is not going to change their cycle from night to day, but they can have a minimum improvement. They can have maybe one embryo in this for the cycle with this thing, and for them having one embryo more is very important. So if even it's not a big change, it's important for them, it's good. The state is not like well defined. Some clinics are working on it, other ones are not, they're trying. Nowadays I think it's not a big thing, and it's not we're not getting big results, but maybe this is for future. This could be a very important thing, and we always have to do research, and we have to try these things for future. In the future it will be okay. Now it's not, but we are working on it to get to improve this, and maybe in 3 years time it will be much better, and special groups of patients, they can be very happy with these techniques. Hopefully it was okay for Margie.
All right. Thank you so much, Margie, for the question again. Let's have a look. One more from Sebastian. How long do you wait for transfer after you have thawed a blastocyst and a cleavage stage embryo?
Okay. In our clinic, we perform transfer in the evening. Okay, and we try to thaw in the morning because we like to see how the embryos react. Because most of them, when we thaw them, they collapse. So we wait at least minimum. I think minimum we have to wait is 2 hours, because we want to see the reaction. But if you wait more hours, you can see how they react. And sometimes it's beautiful when you see that the embryo it was collapsed, but at the time of the transfer, it's fully expand, hatching, and it's a very good big embryo. So patients can see the embryos, they're happy, and you have information of this, because sometimes it's like you thaw them, and 2 hours after, the embryo is still collapsed, it's not presenting good aspects. So you can speak with the patient, this has happened, Do you want that if you have spare embryos, do you want us to thaw another embryo? You can speak with them. You have time to react, and it's good to see always to have information of the embryos of how they react after the thawing. So if you wait minimum 2 hours, I think it's better if you wait 4 hours to see how they re-expand, how they grow. You get more information of them, so you know more about the result. So because if its embryo is really good and it was fully responded and it was beautiful, and it's a negative, you can think of maybe the endometrium preparation was the problem, not the embryo. If 4 hours after the thawing the embryo was not good, and it's a negative, you can think, well, maybe this is an embryo problem. So you have more information if you wait some hours. With the cleavage is like the same. You don't need to wait like 4 hours because they are not going to like, they don't collapse. But sometimes you can see them like growing, and then on the transfer you can see a morula. It's not a cleavage embryo anymore. You can see the morula, so you know that the embryo, okay, after the thawing, it's growing, it's dividing, it's like compacting now. So you have the same, is that you have information of the embryo, and you're happy because it's like you can see how the embryo has the react to the thawing.
Excellent. Thank you so much for yet another explanation. All right, let's see. One more question from Claire. Okay. I'm coming up. Oh, actually, sorry. It's information, but I guess we can have a look. I'm coming over in June for a metroplasty and hope to come back for transfer in September. This is after 3 failures with donor eggs, another clinic in Spain. So I guess Claire is coming to Juana Crespo. That's good. And actually, yes, let me just go to her question. Okay, here it is. My husband will be having a TESA. What basic checks are done on the sperm before the ICSI procedure? Dr. Carupo said to consider donor sperm in case my husband's sperm is not very good. Okay.
This is obviously the sperm with a TESA is not like fresh or good sperm. But sometimes this one thing is clear, is what we have is what we have. So patients need to decide what they want to do. If they want to give a chance with their own sperm, even if it's bad, they need to know that the cycle is not going to be as good as with donor sperm. But some patients want to give a try, and this is like, okay, this is why not? They want to try. So maybe they can get pregnant if it's good. So the results are not going to be the same, obviously, with donor sperm or even with a normal sperm. But with the TESA techniques, we fish before the ICSI. What we fish, that means that we're going to, like fishing, we're going to try to find a sperm. Not only to find a sperm, they have to move. So we know that they are alive, they're moving, and we spend a lot of time trying to find the best sperms according to morphology. Okay, according to morphology, if they're good, they tend to be normal. If they are very like aberrant, then the cycle goes much worse. But what we need to know is what we have. First of all, we need to know what we have, and sometimes even we don't get anything after the TESA. So considering to have a donor sperm is good to have like a plan B if we can't get any sperms, or if they prefer, okay, I want to have a good cycle, so I will go straight to donor sperm because this is like very important for me. I want a good cycle. But if they want to try, we definitely we can try to have a TESA. We can try to fish the best sperm for them, and we can try to have a cycle. And sometimes we have good results with this. But they need to know that the quality of the cycle is not going to be the same with the TESA sperm that with a donor. But knowing this, they can take the decision and they can go ahead with the TESA.
All right. Short question. Should we freeze all eggs or only M2?
We freeze only M2 because it's like we know that it's like the mature and the competent eggs. What we do is like we strip the eggs 2 hours after the pickup. So and then we freeze all the M2 ones. If we get some M1s, what we do is we wait another hour, we check them again, and if they are mature now, if they turn into M2, we'll freeze them. And then we freeze them, we wait, and if they are still an M1, we wait for an hour. And we are going to do this, we're going to check them every hour until 6 hours maximum to check to see if they have turned into a mature eggs. In case they're mature, we'll freeze them. But if 6 hours after they are still in M1, we don't freeze them, because we have seen that after when we thaw them, they're not going to be mature, and this gives really bad results. So we think that there's no point to freeze this immature eggs, because they're not mature, they haven't completed the genetic cycle, so we can't work with them.
All right, excellent. Another question, definitely an interesting one. Okay, so I read that in Spain, Italy, for example, the egg donors don't get paid to do so. What motivates them going through all hassle, and how do the clinics find them?
Okay, it's like donors are not paid per se. It's like you are a donor, you get paid. It's like they receive something for the hassle. I think it's not a big money. I'm not sure about this actually, but it's that they pay them for because they need to take a taxi, they need to come for the hassle. It's not that they have a lot of money. Motivation can be many of them. Some of them, they know couples that they have been through an IVF cycle and they needed donor eggs. So it's like, okay, if I can help people and it's not to be a bad thing for me, they're going to compensate this hassle. Is like, why not? We find a lot of donors that their motivation is that one. Maybe this question is better for a donor team, but it's a good question, because yes, it's like in Spain, and there we have a lot of donors. I don't know why. For example, I know that we donate all kind of organs a lot. It's like we have this in mind, that it's like I'm not going to need this, so it's okay if I give to someone else. I think it's a good thing, because a lot of patients need donor eggs, and then they can help them. And how the clinics find them is like there are some adverts, but I think it's mostly like speaking. Someone tells someone, is like, this clinic is good, they go there, and it's like they go to clinics, and if they're happy, they can come back.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much indeed. Lots of interesting question. Okay, we are almost done. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Do you test sperm donor fragmentation or decondensation in Spain? I apologize. Okay, Andrew, not a problem, right?
No, of course not. We don't test sperm donors. Sorry. We don't have our own donors. It's like we get donors, and I think I'm sure they have a lot of tests. I'm not sure about the donor fragmentation, but for patients, I can answer you. For the patients, we don't make this test. We can use like the one thing. Sorry, like we don't like to use it, because when we perform this kind of test, we are not doing the test on the sample that we're using. So we're doing the test on an ejaculate of the patient, and the test and the cycle can be like months after. So it's not the same. We know the fragmentation in that sample, but not in the one that we're using. So when we have problem with the sperm and we want to improve, we use the fertile chip, which is like a thing that when instead of having a sperm preparation, we put the sperm there, and it's a thing that is going to filter the sperms, and only the ones that don't have double fragmentation chain of the DNA go through the channel. So at the end, we have these sperms that are free of this double fragmentation in DNA. So we know that sample that is free of these problems is the sample that we're going to use. So I think this is useful, because it's the actual sample we're using. to do a test in the sample that we're not going to use is not giving us information about the cycle. We're going to give us information about that sample. And it's proven that sometimes this fragmentation test in one ejaculate is like a percentage, and the week after is another percentage. So it's not what we think that is not very like it's not giving us information. So we prefer to make a test on the things that we're going to use. So it's like we're not doing this fragmentation test pre-IVF.
All right. Thank you so much for the confirmation, indeed. And Derek, thank you so much for your questions. All right. 2 questions are left, I guess. So let's have a look. So what is the optimum endometrial thickness on transfer day?
Okay. Sorry, but this is more like I could say something, but it's like I would prefer you to ask this to a gynecologist, because this is like the medical part. We know that it has to be a specific thickness of the 3-layer endometrium, but it's like I can tell you a specific number, so I prefer not to answer this question. Sorry.
Not a problem, of course. Thank you so much indeed. And let's have a look. Do you have special media for in vitro maturation?
I know some clinics that are using the special media, but recently in the last congresses, I was seeing that with the same media you're using, you can do it. You just need a time lapse to check when is the in vitro maturation happening, because if it's taking more than a specific number of hours, it's not working. So you need a time lapse, because this is going to be overnight. But nowadays, I think most of clinics use the same media that they use.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Next question, the last and final question for tonight. Do you freeze morula embryos?
It's like, yes, if you're going to freeze them on day 3, and sometimes they are quick embryos on day 3 are already a morula, this is not a problem. And plus, when you freeze them, they decompact, so you can see the cells again. So it's not a problem, because when you're freezing it, it's going to be again on a cleavage stage.
Wonderful. Thank you so much indeed. It's been a great and amazing session. That's for sure. Thank you so much. Okay. One more from Margie. If you don't mind, I think we can still answer. What is the oldest patient who got a live birth with own eggs?
In our clinic, I think it was 45, always with PGS, but it was 45, I think, 44, 45. I will say 45.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. And well, Maria, I'm not sure if you know, but Maria, it's been an incredible session. Lots and lots of thank yous coming up your way. I only want to show you, of course, some of those thank yous.
Oh, thank you.
So as you can see, brilliant, great presentation. Thank you so much for sharing with us these interesting things. And thank you for answering all my questions. This webinar have been very interesting. What can I say to that? I can only agree with this for sure.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
It's definitely useful for you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And anything else you would like to add?
No, thank to all of you for this. I was quite scared, but I enjoyed it. Yes.
I told you, right? I told you at the beginning that you're going to like it, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is a very first webinar for Maria. So I wouldn't guess, really. This has been excellent. Thank you so much. And I just want to let you know that if you would like to get in touch with Maria and her team, you can use this link. There is an option for you to actually get in touch with Maria, her team at Juana Crespo, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to help you out, no doubt here. And of course, well, before I let you go, Maria, and you need to see this. Well done. So as you can see, I'm not the only one who thinks that it's been amazing, and there was a fantastic job. Wow, there are so many comments for you, right? here.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much indeed, everyone. And as you know, it has been recorded. So, of course, you will have a chance to watch this. So go to our website, myivfenses.com tomorrow. It will be available there. And if you simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, again, you will know that it has been uploaded and you will have a chance to have a look at it once more. And thank you so much for spending this evening with us, Maria, and all of you. It's great to have you. And again, I am very happy to be with all of you and be able to bring all those amazing topics and amazing sessions. So thank you so much, everyone. And well, I hope to see you here tomorrow. As you know, we will be back at 8 p.m. Sorry, tomorrow, actually 7 p.m. UK time. I hope you will be able to join us as well. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.